Hello, Packers. How you doing, everybody? This is Rob Duenas talking to you about Battletoads selection flats. Holy hell, what am I looking at here? To help me explain what the hell we're looking at, let me see if I can actually get this to work. Brandon, Mega Potato, Let Heavy Jane say hello.
Hello.
Hey, Brandon. So I want to explain to the backers, and I'm putting this up on the YouTube channel as well so you all can see this process. We could talk about it a little bit. Now, these right here are the Battletoads selection flats. I'm going to see if I can't just bring open the line arts and the color roughy. So this be the color roughy, the idea of what I want to draw. This is the line art, the final line art, all in its super high res glory. When I get done with this line art, I send this and this roughy off to you, right, Brandon?
Correct.
Then you take this and these high res lines and you make the selection thing here, right?
Yes.
Now,
all the good choices.
Now I have the big PSD open so we can let everyone know. And I'm just going to scroll right through here. Now, I want you to explain to people why this looks like an old CGA monitor. Why does this look all fucking weird?
Well, for me, and I would assume for you, but for me it's best to use multiple bright colors when I'm doing different areas so I can tell the difference between each area, and it's easier to pick and differentiate between the two.
Okay, hold on right there. So what Brandon is saying is that I need to color this up in high res to look like the color roughy.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, I need you to set up, so they're called selection flats, the ability to select this big toad, this ability to select this other toad behind him, and then their individual parts, the spikes, the glove, the handle, the arcade cabinet, as a whole and individually into parts. So if we scroll here to arcade cabinet, now you've labeled this, the arcade cabinet, arcade, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I control click in Photoshop, I can select this arcade cabinet as a whole. If I use the wand tool, I can select the individual the individual parts per piece. And also what's important when you're doing the selection flats is to make certain that there's absolutely no anti-aliasing. What is anti-aliasing?
Anti-alias, the best way I could describe it is when you have two colors that run over each other and it gets this pixelated look, and so when you go to select it, it can't differentiate between if you're trying to pick the red color or the blue color. They kind of mesh together in the middle.
So when things are anti-alias, they end up being smooth. Anti-aliasing is smoothing. Like when you go play a video game and back in the day during PlayStation, all the 3D stuff would look really pixelated because there was no anti-aliasing going on. That pixelization is aliasing. To anti-alias, they would add these smoothers to smoothen things out. Like if I come over here to the airbrush tool in Photoshop and I start coloring, see how it's all smooth? Mm-hmm. That right there is an anti-aliased edge. If I try to select that, it's not going to... See how it grabs all this extra information that isn't even there?
Right.
That's because there's semi-transparent pixels all around here. So when you make selection flats, you need them to be completely 100% aliased. It means all hard edges. And in order to do that, when you're using the lasso tool or the pen tool, you have to go right up here and uncheck anti-alias. So if I come here and make like a line that's un-anti-aliased, see how it's all like super hard pixeled? Mm-hmm. Now if I click anti-alias, it's all feathered. We don't want it feathered. We want hard edge pixels on these selection flats.
And really, really make sure you pay attention to that, because I have gone... And Photoshop will like to crash on you sometimes, depending on what you have. And it won't save your settings every time. So I've gone back into Photoshop, spent maybe an hour or two, and then realized, oh shit, I didn't click anti-alias, and it's all messed up. And I had to go back and redo a good chunk of piece and lost hours of work.
And you're using Photoshop CC, the Creative Cloud?
Yes.
So I don't know. Maybe you can, or maybe you still can't do that there. I know I'm using an older version because I prefer CS5. They still don't have that option. Now, how long would you say, with all these details, this process takes you?
I would say 12 hours.
12 hours just to do all of this.
Yes.
It's amazing, right?
You know, I always think in my head, oh, I can bust it out real quick, but that's when mistakes happen. You know, if I don't, I mean, I'm sure eventually I'll get faster at it, but right now to make sure I'm getting at least enough quality work to your standard.
Now
It's taking me about 12 hours.
You say maybe you can get faster, but I can tell you I've paid professional flatters to color the stuff that I do here. Like the very first piece for the Game Cave Kickstarter had Bombcat with all the Smash Brothers plushies.
Right.
That took the professional flatter 12 hours.
Okay.
So this all looks, it's just a few characters and some plushies, but my art's deceptively simple.
Yeah.
Would you say that, Brandon?
Oh, yeah. It's like a fucked up puzzle piece. I mean, every time you think you're putting down the right piece, you're like, oh, no, that's not the right edge. That's not the right character. And you have to go back and you find new things.
And this piece is relatively easy compared to, say, some of the other ones, I think.
This one was nice because, it's got the centerpiece of the console, and all the characters kind of branch out to the sides based off the center line, which I'm sure you did that on purpose. But, all makes your eyes draw to the middle. But other ones have, let's say, like the Star Wars one, has layers upon characters, and then you find characters hidden inside shit. Like
and action figures, and plushies, and
keychains, and fucking bottle openers. You name it, Rob's got it in there. Like a fucking Where's Waldo.
But if you look at here, here's your file layout setup right here. All the way down to the back, we have the moon, the bull. Now, one thing, too, when you set up, say, this Big Frog, right? Mm-hmm. You call him Big Frog back here. So let's say Big Frog. When you set up the flats, one of the things that you got to make certain you're doing is that whatever flats are for this guy in front, like this frog here, mm-hmm. you want to make certain that behind him it's completely transparent. You don't want the flats running into one another. Because what happens is, like, if this bullfrog was colored all the way through, or there's mm-hmm. even little bits and pieces of that gauntlet or his chest, when I select the bullfrog, it's going to then dig into these other things. Right, so you got to set these up, and then as you're doing this stuff in the foreground, it's almost like you got to start in the foreground and work your way back. Or do you do the main shapes first?
I do the main shapes first. So I'd start with the big guy, the two smaller frogs, and then work my way up to the front. And then when I go back to color them individually, I work my way back.
And you'll select it and then cut out things underneath.
I'll select it and delete underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's very important, folks, to have that worked out. So, and then to double check that, you're trapping properly, you set the line art. You'll fill the line art with a red color instead of to like a hard light mode. Just watch, here's the difference, folks. Here's how it's currently set up. If you have these at normal, it's harder to see if things are trapped. If we set it to hard light, you can see where these lines are resting against one another. And I think it helps let you know if it's actually there or not. And you don't have, like, what you don't want is little slivers of the background peeking in between these two guys. You want them jutted right up against one another.
Right.
So it's would you say flats are tedious, Brandon?
Oh, yes. Yes. They are the most, it would seem simple, but they're the most aggravating thing I think I've learned from you, where it's just something that you think you could do it fast and you can't. No matter what I do, it's tedious, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take a piece out of you. It's just, you have to sit down, you have to do it, and just get it done.
And I think, too, like, some people in the forums have been, or the streams have been asking, if you're just doing these for free. And I tried to explain that, look, I can pay people to do these, but Brandon wants to learn Photoshop, and I can't think of a better way than about a couple hundred of these.
I'm just painting the fence right now, waxing the car, man.
Yeah, you're sanding the deck, painting the fence, and waxing the car. But it does teach you technical functions of Photoshop, non-creative, right?
Correct.
Pen tool, lasso tool, wand tool, how to control click things, how to control alt right click items to jump around to different layers, how to set up your layers properly. It's very technical, but I think, Brandon, when you come out of this, let's say 2-3 years from now, you go to set up a full print where you draw things, you ink it, you set it up. How much more knowledge do you think you're going to have compared to before all this? Like,
oh, so much more. It's gonna be night and day when I look back at some of my old stuff. I mean, before, when I used to color, I never even knew about flats until talking to you before, and I would just go and I would just try to color underneath my lines, and then there'd be these weird white missing haloed areas when I go to print them out, and it just looked bad. I mean, it looked like I colored them with MS Paint. So it's going to help just on the simple fact of just better, cleaner art, just nicer looking presentation.
All right, so let's just wrap this up really quick. So these are the selection flats. I'm going to make another quick video the coloring flats, which we're going to get to in a minute. All right, folks, so that's that. Join us for the coloring flats, and I'll walk you through what the next step is going to be. Say bye, Brandon.
Bye-bye.
Coloring flats are next.